So last time I was working on this Porsche 911 996 in this garage, we had removed the ignition coils and the spark plugs so that we could get the inspection camera in to check this car for bore score. And it was bad news. Cylinders 4 and 6 both had scoring. Oh no. Oh, there we have it. Can you see them scratches, guys? And oh, there you go. Oh, look at that one. Ooh. Nasty. But as I said on my what options have you got when you've got bore scoring video, I'm just going to ignore this one and do it at a later date and just put some thicker oil in to hopefully help slow down the bore scoring process, and I'm just going to carry on as if I haven't got it. And today we're going to get back to that major service that I was going to do until I found I had bore scoring. Let me take you to the table and show you what I'm going to change during the service on this car. So here we have it. We're going to change that water pump. We're going to change that thermostat for a low temperature one. We're going to replace all of the ignition coils. We're going to replace the 6 spark plugs. We're going to obviously change the accessory belt as well. Plus an oil change with filter and the crush washer. And then replace the air filter and the cabin air filter as well. Yeah, it's going to be a busy one today. So let's batten down and let's crack on and get this started. So before we replace anything on this car, let's start with the hardest job, which is going to be the water pump and the thermostat. Let's get under the car, let me show you what's involved in that. And of course the first job, with a bucket underneath, is to release these 2 lower coolant pipes. It's been on so long that they've indented into the pipe so much that I can't get it past the indent. Right, so I think we'll pull this one off the water pump first, because that will then give me a bit more room to get my hands around this one. Right, so I'm just going to use a little pick here just to just try and get this started without damaging. Whoa, it's never been off the life of the car, this one, so definitely glad we were changing the water pump and thermostat here. And there we go. It's always a messy job when you're doing coolant, isn't it? That was pretty stiff. It's never been off in its lifetime, that, as far as I know. Right, that I'm thinking would have been the easy one. Now we've got to get this monster. Oh, actually no, it's moving. Aha. This one might not be so hard. So here we go. Yep, that's coming off nicely. There we go. So now while we're waiting for the last coolant to leak out, we'll have a look at these. So we need to take this these bars off here, so I can pull this out, and then that gives you access to the bolts holding the water pump on. So first of all, this is just a bracket. It looks new, that actually. This is just a bracket holding the exhaust on. So we need to release the exhaust clamps from here and here. So this one here is so rusty, it's not even got the shape of a 13mm head anymore. Oh, actually, having said that, that might just go on, but I'm doubtful. I'm going to try and buzz it off with this gun, and if not, then we're going to have to angle grind that. Yeah, no, it's just rounded it. Absolutely rusted to hell, that. Yeah, absolutely nothing. So let's get the angle grinder and we'll cut those off. Woo-wee! Yep, that was fun. Right, so that means now we can remove this plate, which holds those brackets. Right, because this bolt here, it seems to be really rusty. I'm just found a bolt. I'm just going to turn that like that and not attempt to get that off, because I think that might snap in its thread. That gives me access now to the bolts that I need to get to. So what we're going to need to do now is support this engine, because we're going to loosen this engine mounting bracket. So let's just get the jack underneath just to take the weight of the engine. So engine now supported, so let's go and move these lower nuts from the mounting bracket. Now you definitely need a ratchet spanner for this job, and unfortunately I haven't got a 15 ratchet spanner. So it just leaves this one here now, which is an alignment bolt. And it should mean now that we should be able to remove this exhaust bracket. What we need now is to go to the top and remove the two bolts holding this at the top. So while we're in here, might as well get the ancillary drive belt off. Now that's just a 24mm socket on a big bar. I'd put it onto this tensioner pulley, press down, and then you should be able to ease the belt off. Right, I've taken a couple of pictures of this so I know which way the belt goes. So checking the belt, oh, that must have been replaced in its lifetime because that belt looks pretty good. But nonetheless, we'll be replacing this anyway. Right, so what we need to do is just pull this plate forward a little. There we go. And that's purely to give us access to get to the bolts here on the water pump. Next, to allow me to get to the top bolt on the thermostat, I just need to remove this plastic pipe, which is mounted 1, 2, and there's just one over there as well. This now allows this pipe to move and gives us a bit more access just to get to that top bolt over there. Right, so staying with the 10mm, let's get the easy ones first. Right, for the last bolt, right at the top of the water pump, you definitely need a wobble socket to actually get on it. It's a pain. And use the trusty magnet to get that one out. And there we have it. Right, I put this one back in for now because it was leaking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one out, get the bucket underneath, then we can capture everything as it comes out. Here we go. Oh, there she fell off herself. Ha. Right, off she comes. Now that one looks okay, but I'm suspecting that is original thermostat. So now it's a case of working around the water pump and trying to get off all of these bolts as well. So here we go. Right guys, so I just had to go up top to take the top bolts off this engine mounting plate because we do need this to come much further out to give us access to get the wrench in there. Right, what a pain getting to this one here, but it can get done. Right guys, it's been working from the top now, and I've got to admit, the bolt that goes in there and the one that goes in below that one are the two hardest, because to get access to get them out, what a pain in the backside. I just never socket. One socket was too long and one socket wasn't long enough. Right, so the only two I haven't released now is these two on the top, but that should be nice and easy. So this is what I'm using here with this short extension bar. I need one with like half the length of that bar, or a socket that's twice the length of that, because you've got to get past the pulley to get to the actual bolt itself. So I can get on the bolt, but when you start loosening that bolt, obviously it starts coming out, and then it's pushing and jamming the ratchet. But these shouldn't be so bad because I'll be able to get my fingers on. Right, time to get wet again. Let's now remove the water pump. Yes! Whoa! Right. So there it is now. Let's get out of the way. Yes. Wow, so that was a pain in the backside. So that this plastic tube that just mounted on the side of the engine, I've disconnected that now from its rubber hose, and yeah, then the water pump come out dead easy. It was jammed with that in the way. Right, so I'm going to get this gasket off, get these surfaces cleaned up, and then we'll look at refitting. Right, just a point of note that this gasket is actually joined to the gasket on this bit here as well. Sometimes when you get the new gasket with the pump, it'll have this little gasket that goes behind this. Mine has only got the gasket to cover the actual water pump side of it, but I'm going to have to snip the lower edges of this gasket just to get this off. Yeah, so this gasket, as it was there, had a connection to the other gasket there, there, and down there. So I've broken those off to remove this gasket. I wonder if this is original then. I bet this is all original stuff here. So let's clean up those surfaces. So it's got a piece of Scotch-Brite just to go over and get rid of the old gasket. Right, just looking here, my gasket is totally different to the old one, because that's got this bit coming right over here, look. Mine doesn't have that. And then this old one had this piece moulded in, whereas mine's separate. It should be okay though, I think, should it not? Yeah, I'm sure. It's just going to be a bit of a pain getting this on when you've got two pieces of gasket there. But anyway, let's see how it goes. Right, the new water pump also has the dowels each side here. That does help hold the gasket in place. I might put this on first and just slip the other gasket in afterwards. Now this gasket just slips in there now. Right, they're just hand tight. We'll get the rest of the bolts from the top. Right, so water pump it in and torque down where I could get to the bolts. To be honest, I couldn't get to all of them, but it's only like 7 foot-pounds, so it's not a massive torque. I just tightened them up nicely. Now it's time for the low temperature thermostat. Now this gasket has got no dowels to hold it in place like the water pump had. So I'm going to put in a couple of bolts, 2 easy ones to get to, just to keep the gasket in line. Right, they're acting like dowels now, so what we need to do is move that out of the way. Line her up. Bolt 1, bolt 2. Easy peasy. Right, get the other 2 in, if possible. Trusty magnet. Okay, everything's started, so let's get the ratchets. And replace this hose back where it should be. Right, there's a lesson learned. So this hose needs to be pushed back into its position before you put the thermostat on. Right, let's pop that back off again. Right, we're back in where we should be now. So what we can do is, I think we'll get this pipe on here. Come on, baby. Yes, there we go. Perfect. Now we'll do this little one under here. Right, I didn't video every part of this, but we've now got the hoses all back on. And this little hose up here, I had to use a Jubilee clip because the original clip just would not go back over. It's a bit weird that. But yeah, so all hoses back in position. I've now fastened that plastic pipe back up as well, so that's back in position. So next job is to get the engine bracket and the exhaust brackets back on. Right, hopefully this bracket just pushes back in place. Right, it's slightly moved. I just had to lift the engine a little bit higher just to get the bolts back in, but it looks like we're getting there now. So I've got to try and see if we can get this one back in there. And the top two bolts, which one of them's hidden under the top of the plate there, but your amazing fingers, you can feel it. Get the bolt on, get the nut on. And back underneath, and it's time to replace the exhaust mounting bracket. Remember, I left this one on like that, and I should have looked at this bracket first, because this bracket goes under those two. I thought it went on top. Oh, let's get them back off. And through the magic of editing, there we are, back to where we should have been. So we've got these bolts there now, and it's just a matter of this one to go back in here. Right, you may remember I had to grind these off, so these are absolutely no good now. So we can get these off, and we'll replace these with some Jubilee clips. Oh, thank God for that. That job's done. And now that is a tough job to do, I think, anyway. That really is an engine out job. It must be. You've got to take one of the engine mounting plates off to get to it. It's got to be an engine out job, that, isn't it, for a water pump? Ridiculous. Anyway, I managed to do it without having to take the engine out, thank God. So now what we need to do to finish that job off is just get the ancillary belt back in place. So if you remember, I did take a picture of this beforehand, so I'm going to leave that there as reference as we now get this belt back in place. Well, this is the wrong belt then, because this is fitted as it should have been, and it's way too big. Right, luckily the old belt was in good condition, so this is just massive. So I don't want that belt's off. So we're getting rid of this. Yep, that's it, that's all back on now. So that's the original belt, just says in good condition anyway. There's no cracking of it or anything, but yeah. So I bought this belt in the service kit that I bought when I bought a load of this stuff. And it was for obviously a 996 911. Interesting. Anyway, let's carry on. Right, my table's getting emptier, so the next step is we'll do the spark plugs and the ignition coils. Right, like before, these are going to be quite a nightmare. I've got no exhaust in, so it's quite easy because of that. Let's get this one in nicely. You know, gently screw these in so you can feel the thread is taken, because the last thing you want to do is cross thread one of these. Now, these do not need to be too tight. That should do it. That's one. You should have access to the end one. So the two outer ones, with me not having the exhaust in, absolutely simple to get in. But I won't advise on removing your exhaust, because it'd be a pain in the backside to get out. It'd be rusted. Now the fun of the middle one. So as before, first of all, put the socket on the end of the plug, push the plug in, and then you can use your extension bar to push it all the way in, like so, till the bar clicks. And we can now hand tighten that and get the bar on for the final tightening. Of course, when we come to get this out, we probably can't. So we need a screwdriver just to push the socket off the end of the bar, and then a trusty magnet to remove the socket. That's those three done. Right, now for the ignition coils. Now, these coils are slightly different to the ones that was on mine. They're actually, this is thicker, this bit here is thicker, but they do supply the longer bolts, so that's good. So here we go, pop the first one in, which is dead easy. And don't forget to replace the plug on the top. Pull down, there's like a rubber cover that goes over the plug, so I'm just going to pull that back down. Protection against the weather. There we go, lovely, that one's done. Second coil, now you do have to bend this one to get it in. It should go. There we go. And the third one. And that's that side done. Let's go do the other side. And same on the other side. These two are very easy to get to. That one is behind the bracket. Lightly tighten those. Right, nice. Now let's get these coils in. Make sure the plug is not trapped by the coil. And get the plug in. Next coil. Easy peasy. Plug in place. So I'd say those are the two easiest. Now it's time to get this one, which is in here. But it's going to be the same issue again. Pop the plug in the socket and then push in the extension bar to push it all the way through. Plug in sockets. Socket in hole. Extension bar going in. And gently engage thread. So get the ratchet on the back of that one. So, and tighten. Boom. Same removal process. Pull out the extension, push the socket off the extension, and then use magnet to withdraw sockets. Now to squirm the coil in from this side, because you wouldn't have your exhaust out the way like I have. And push it home. And the last job is to get that plug in. Now that's going to be a nightmare. It's just hardly any room. Okay, she's clicked in. Now get the rubber cover over. Can't get any fingers in there whatsoever. I'm going to replace these heat shields. Now I know they're not the best, big hole in that one, but to be honest they're very, very, very expensive for what they are. And next, before we put this air filter housing back in, we may as well change the air filter on the table. Yeah, that one's quite dirty. Definitely need a replacement. Let's get it back on the car. Yeah, forgot to press record. But there you go, so she's back in now. That was just a simple fitting that anyway. It's just a one bolt. Get the pins in, make sure the MAF sensor's in, tighten up these three Jubilee clips, pop the oil filler back in, and there you go. So now we're underneath and it's time to do the oil. So we've got the oil sump plug there and we've got the oil filter there. So this is a Hex 8. Here we go. How much is this going to be on me? Looking good, that oil's looking good. Actually, it doesn't look that black really. Yeah. Right, that's just about it, just a thin trickle coming out now, so let's replace the plug. Now there was no washer on this when I took it off, but I'm just fitting this washer back on now so that I've got one in there. And it's a very, very thin trickle, so let's replace the sump plug. Next job now is to remove the filter. And to do the oil filter I had to wait for this to be delivered. So this is the 14 flute 74mm oil filter removal tool. It's not a Porsche brand one, it's just a third party one, but hey, I mean, this should do the job as well as an expensive Porsche one. I think this was less than £10. Yeah, so simply a matter of fitting this one on, which goes on absolutely nicely, and off we go. Yes. What I might do is take this off while I can pull. Not that I need to, because we're going to need to put it back on anyway to fit this back on, so we can leave that in place because this is a cartridge system. So this metal cover comes off and inside will be the actual filter, and how much we'll get out of this. Just a little bit, not too much. I'll leave that there, let it drain a bit, and what we will do is we'll take that filter to the bench and we'll just open it up and see if we can see any shavings in there. But for the meantime, let's just get the new filter in place. So with the new filter, we get a new rubber seal here. So what we need to do is pop the old seal off this. So using a pick, we just need to get to that old seal there. Look, there she is. And pop that off. And then install the new one. Make sure it's sat in the groove it's supposed to be in. Rub some oil around it so we get a good seal. And now pop in the new filter. Right, you got to really force the filter all the way in, because the hole there, it's meant to be sort of angled down and pushed down. Because if you look at the hole on the new filter, it's actually smaller than the old one, but it will press in. So I've pushed it all the way in now, so it's level with that. So now we mate it up to the housing and tighten her up. And the filter canister on the bottom says torque of 25 Newton meters, so let's do that. And that's it, filter changed. Right, so checking the filter, let's have a look. No sparklers, no sparklers. Yeah, looking good actually. Yeah, I think I'm quite happy with that. Excellent, so even though we know we've got Bose, we've got no sort of engine filings coming in here. So fantastic, we can now dump this. So now everything's back together underneath, we can now do all the fluids, and I'm going to start this one with the coolant. So I've got here my 5 litres of concentrate coolant, and you guys last time watched me mix this with tap water, and I got quite a few comments saying, no, don't use tap water, the minerals in that won't be good for the coolant system, which is absolutely correct. But I knew that that coolant wasn't staying in for long, because I only did that a week or so ago, and I've only run the engine once with that coolant in just to prove that it had no leaks. So this time, now I'm doing this for real and this coolant's staying, I've bought some deionised water. So I'm going to mix these two together to make me 10 litres of coolant to fill up this coolant system. I've even invested in 2 new funnels, marked 1 oil and 1 coolant, so I don't get them mixed up. Right, to refill these systems is going to be a lot easier with one of these, which is a coolant system, vacuum, purge and refill kit. Now, I bought a cheapy one of these before, and this was all really flimsy plastic, and it just didn't work. The thread off this bit just went, and I couldn't get the valve in there to connect my airline. But now I've got a metal one, and it's still fairly cheapy, but this is much, much better. Let me just show you how this works if you've not used one of these before. So firstly, we take this part here, and we fit this to our coolant tank. So obviously take the lid off the coolant tank. Now I've put an extra piece on this one, which will just make it wide enough to fit on this type of coolant tank. So what we do is we pop that rubber in there, which goes in very easy, and then we tighten up this blue nailed knob here to actually go tight within the expansion tank. We need to create a vacuum in this system. Okay, once that's nice and tight, then we need to fit this piece on the end here, which will allow us to connect an airline, and we need to get that arrow into the yellow region here. Right, once that's complete, once we've got into the yellow, we turn off the valve here, and we just make sure that's holding, and it has held. It's been like that for about 5 minutes now, so we're definitely holding pressure. So what we need to do is remove this line here, and we now install our coolant filling line. And it's got a weighted end there, but we need to push that into our coolant here, push it right down to the bottom, and make sure it stays in the bottom there. So I'm going to hold this, and then we just turn on this, and the air should suck in all of the coolant. Here we go. And that hopefully is it. So we just need to open this, just make sure there's no air left in, which there isn't, and then we can remove this adapter. And what we'll do is, when we get the oil in, we'll fire up the engine, and obviously keep our eye on the coolant, make sure it goes around the system. It's above minimum now, so yeah, we may just have the right amount of coolant in there. And now it's time for the engine oil, and for this I bought some 5W50 after doing my what can I do about Bose video. Some of you guys said just put thicker oil in, so this will be thicker when it's warmer at the 50, that's when it's cold. So yeah, I'm with the molly as well, make sure it's got molly in it. So I'm taking your advice here, putting some thicker oil in with some moly in it, hopefully to just reduce the bore scoring that's going to continue in those bores. Now it states that it takes 8.3 litres of oil, so I've got 2 of these, which are 4 litres, so I've got 8 litres here. I'm taking the thing that'll be about 0.3 litres already in there. But if not, we can just top it up with a little bit of, I've got some 5W40, so we can just top it up with a little bit of that. Using my oil funnel, drink baby. So that's 4 litres in. So just use the dipstick and just see where we are, if it's showing up on there. And it is, it's showing up to that mark, the top level mark there. So I'm not going to put any more in at the moment. So I've got at least 7 in there now. There may have been 1 left in the system, so I don't want to overfill it with oil. So now we've got the coolant, now we've got the oil. What we can do, we can fire up and let it get up to temperature. Now I've got this reverse in the garage, so I'm going to have to open the garage door, front and rear, to let the airflow, to get all the exhaust fumes out. So let's fire up and let it warm up. To be honest, apart from the noisy exhaust, there's no ticking on startup. Which is interesting, the ticking comes, I think, when it gets warmer. We'll come back to it when it reaches engine temperature and we'll listen to it then, and also check all the levels and check the gauges inside for the oil pressure and obviously the thermostat temperature. Right, so I just stopped the engine. I'm just letting the oil measure itself there, and yeah, I've been waiting 10 minutes for this, so I'm down to the last few seconds. Right, there we go, so we're a bit low on the oil, so yeah, we're going to get that extra, I can't remember what they are. Yep, so we saw that was on the minimum. Each one of those segments is approximately 0.2 of a litre, so it looks like I am about 2 to 3 segments. So I just need to top it up by about half a litre to get it into the maximum marks. And we'll go do that, but we'll leave the car just still to warm up. Right, there we go guys, so coolant now up to temperatures and it's looking good. There's no leaks underneath. Oil pressure's looking good as well. I think we can say that's successful. So I'm just doing the oil measurement again, and is this just pulling back its last measurement? Because that's not changed, look. So what I think I might do is I'm going to leave it there for now, and I'm going to keep my eye on it, and then when we do get this car on the road, we'll check it and top it up before we actually go for a serious drive. So now I've had a recent service on the engine, the thermostat has been changed, the water pump's been changed. I've got to maybe see if I can get another accessory belt because that one didn't fit. But yeah, we've done the oil, we've done the plugs, we've done the coils, and everything's looking good now. Apart from one thing, and that's the sound from that exhaust. But I'm going to fix that. But that's in the next video where I'm going to build back better and do something special with these exhausts. So don't miss that one. So if you don't want to miss them, then please subscribe to this channel. All you got to do is click on that subscribe button. Costs you nothing. Really helps the analytics for this channel and helps me to produce more videos like this for you guys. Give me a thumbs up. Until next time, stay safe.